I woke up this morning wanting to do something different, a break in the norm, something fun. I wandered into my kitchen, searching for inspiration of what to do to scratch this itch for change I was feeling. Opening my freezer, I suddenly knew what I was going to do. Frantically, I threw supplies into a bag, rushed out of the house, popped open a monster, rushing on the way to the national forest. I hopped in my truck and hit the road. Riding through the forest roads in the early morning, I pulled up to the trailhead with suspiciously wet conditions. Made it to the trailhead. Or to this trailhead. Still real flooded though, so we're gonna see how this creek is. Oh boy. Look at the trail. Big old puddle. This will be interesting. Real pretty morning though. Woo! Look at the beauty. Knowing my plan to hike down a small creek may be threatened, I head off anyways, out of curiosity and a need to escape into the realm of the unknown. Finding the end of the double track and slow degradation of the trails is cathartic, as the reach of man becomes less apparent, still ever present, yet not overbearing, as often is the case for densely populated areas. On my long treks through the forest, I'm often met with long stretches of time to simply think to myself. Often I contemplate the irreversible impacts of people, as no matter how remote you find yourself, you will always find a marker of humankind. While sad as it removes the inspiring joy of finding something completely new and untouched, it is also in a way inspiring as a sick, twisted demonstration of the power of man, as we reach every part of this planet we call home. We're not quite at the creek yet, but there sure is a lot of hog sign. It's not the most recent, but it's like a couple days before the last rain. Yeah. No later than that though, because I was here less than a month ago. And then it's newer than that, and then it's not since the last rain, which was like 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. Walking through the forest, you often notice the gradual degradation and eventually disappearance of infrastructure that runs through it. The drop from double to single track that just slowly disappears, leaving you at the edge of a creek. Here we are at the creek. Oh, new tree fell. Look at that. That's a fresh one. Needles haven't even turned brown yet. Wow. Probably was the last storm. Gotta keep going that way. Follow this sucker till we get to the big creek. Then we can eat. From this, the transfer of dry to wet land is pretty simple as long as you're adequately prepared. Cool thing about wearing waterproof boots is when the banks get too crowded, you can't walk through them no more. You just walk in the river. You can pretty much just stay in it the whole time. Don't step on those. I've never done it, but you step on it, you just go straight through to the water. So, helpful tip. Always stay alert while traveling, as if you move slowly and deliberately, it's often the most informative and useful time in the woods. Pine sap makes a pretty good fire starter in a pinch. Might come in useful, especially with how wet everything is. You can kind of just pick off the globs from the tree, and they work real well. And sometimes if you really are in a pinch, just peel off the actual bark with all the resin in it, and that lights up like nobody's business. This right here is a real interesting tree. These little red berries, can't eat them, they'll make you sick, but they're pretty looking. What's interesting about the tree is not the berries though, it's the leaves. It's a caffeine producing plant. You can make a tea out of the leaves, very similar like coffee or normal tea. Native Americans used to use them. But yeah, you just cut one of these branches off, let it dry for a few months, or weeks even, I don't know. And once the leaves get all crunchy and dry, you put them into a tea and you drink it. Good source of caffeine. Not very many people know it, but neat little plant. Yeah. Yupon, or neat little bend in the river right here. But what's real cool is we got a whole bunch of tracks. We have some raccoon tracks, we got some deer. No hog. But we definitely had a raccoon come through here. And a couple of deer. I just saw a hog. Dang it! The one time I didn't bring my shotgun. Shoot. That sucks. He ran. It was a good one, too. Right across the trail, or right across the stream, right in front of me. Made a whole bunch of racket. I could have easily shot him if I had my shotgun.
Even watching this back, I'm still kicking myself for the stupidity of not bringing the right tool for the job. That pig ran right in front of me, and all I could do was sit and stare. It was like he was taunting me. After dealing with that disappointment, I finally made it to the larger creek that I planned for, and started searching for a good site to stop and set up. Now, I really only had 2 criteria for my desired location. I wanted it to be on the river and large enough to set up and move around comfortably. After a small trudge through the creek bed, unfortunately discovering a hole in my boot, I found the sandbank of my dreams.
Alrighty, well, this is where the fire was going to be.
First thing first, I evaluated my chosen location, discovering the ground was flooded, and in order to create a sustainable fire and minimize smoke, I needed a small raft of branches to help with airflow and elevate it out of the water. Off to collect fuel for the fire to cook my lunch, I gathered branches and leaves to get a small campfire started. Once I collected my supplies, I made the small error of underestimating the tinder needed to dry out the wet sticks from the morning dew. This just caused the slight inconvenience of a few additional tinder collections, as well as the addition of some pine sap to help with the lighting process. Because of the foraging I had done earlier in the morning, the fire was much easier to start as the pine sap helped in the lighting process. Once I had the fire to a sustainable point, I started preparing my food.
That's what we'll be cooking on today.
I cut my potatoes up and seasoned my rock-hard chicken, mostly because I hadn't thawed it out. For the potatoes, I wanted to do a tornado fries, so I cut them in a curly Q pattern and spread them out a little bit. I ended up breaking them a little, which it was alright in the end. They tasted alright. It's a potato. I added some butter to the chicken so that it wouldn't stick to the pan, and then I put the chicken in there. I put a little seasoning on the chicken, and then I threw it in the fire. Then I was met with the slight challenge of opening a can of beans with no can opener, which I unfortunately forgot. I had the genius idea of using machete, which expectedly failed, so I ended up just sacrificing one of my blades for the beans.
Alright, and we're going to add some of this good old green chili salsa to the beans. So them beans have a nice kick to them now. Making a good amount of smoke. Anybody who's anywhere is going to know I'm here. Well, maybe. It's kind of staying low. Alright, well, the fire's catching again. Looking good, looking good. Alrighty. Well, beans are done. Chicken on the verge of being done. Potato, pretty dang close. I'm going to add some Cholula here. Get that butter catching on fire. Get some nice burnt butter in there. Burnt butter always adds more flavor. I like it. Woohoo! Chicken flambe. Alright, well, potato, I'm going to call it. With a few quick whacks from the machete, got a little chunk of wood that I'm going to turn into a spoon. Alrighty, we're going to call the chicken done. Nice and charred chicken. Working on the handle. Getting a little bit started on the indent. Gonna keep going though. Halfway done with the spoon. Gonna hollow that out a little bit more. Got a nice curve going on the back. Alright, finish the spoon. All done. Fire's all gone. That's the cool thing about cooking on a sandbar, is you can just push it right in the river. Make sure you clean up your campsite, or your site, before you head out. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I guess. Well, cut that out. Thanks and giggle.